Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
Is this the Shady Rest?
No, this is just where the train stops. You gotta walk up that path to the hotel.
Thank you.
Excuse me, you mind if I asked you something? Is that a doctor's bag?
That's right.
Who's it belong to?
Me?
Oh, somebody sick up at the hotel?
No.
You on a vacation?
No.
Oh.
No. Excuse me, please.
Dr. Matthew Bailey.
Yes, I'm here in answer to your letter.
Letter? I don't remember any letter.
Well, it was an answer to my ad in the medical journal, offering medical services in exchange for office space.
Medical. May I see that, please? It's typed. Mr. Matthew Bailey, M.D. Dear M.D., in answer to your ad in the medical journal, J-E-R-N-E-L. Come on out to the Shady Rest and see the manger?
I'm sure that's meant to be manager. You were probably in a hurry. You even forgot to sign it.
I also forgot to write it.
Well, if you didn't send the letter, who did?
Yes, Uncle Joe, who did?
I was just brushing these curtains.
Over here for a second, please.
I'll be glad to. Ooh. We ought to have a doctor around here, Kate.
Uncle Joe, this is Dr. Matthew Bailey.
Hi. Doctor? That was mighty thoughtful of you, Kate, when you didn't even know I was that sick. Doc, I got this shooting pain in my hip.
Hold it. You're going to have some brand new symptoms in a minute. Dr. Bailey came out here in answer to an ad he had in the medical journal offering medical services for office space.
Medical journal? What's that?
That's the magazine you read while you were waiting in Doc Stewart's office for him to show up to the pinochle game.
Is that what I read?
You wrote this letter.
How do you know? It's written in typewriting.
Oh, you can't disguise your spelling.
Okay, it was me. Somebody's got to show a little initiation around here. Great idea having a doctor in the hotel. The girl's always coming down with something and you're lumbago.
I haven't got lumbago.
Now you can have it and don't have to worry.
Mr. Bradley, there's obviously been a mistake. I'll get back to town.
No, just a minute. The cannonball won't be back for a couple of hours, and after dragging you out here on a fool's errand, the least we can do is ask you to stay for supper.
Oh, thanks. That isn't necessary.
I think it's only fair. Unless Uncle Joe wants to pay you for a house call.
Oh, he'll stay. We ain't licked yet. You go on upstairs and wash up and don't worry about a thing. You got me in your corner. Kate, it's time for a little sensible talking.
Well, I'm willing, but who can I talk to?
Don't you realize what it would mean for business if we had a house doctor for the guests?
What guests?
The ones that'll be coming from all around looking for a nice place to get sick.
Oh, yeah, we could run a weekend special. Room, board, and minor surgery.
Now you're thinking. We could advertise it.
Uncle Joe, why don't you go finish your nap?
I finished it.
Well, get started on tomorrow's.
I peeled this potato for you. You ought to read this almanac, Kate. You know how many people have accidents in their home every year? 25 million. You know how many people have at least one cold a year? 75 million. That's forgetting the ones that have seconds. That comes to 100 million people we got to draw from. That's not even scratching stomach aches, back aches.
Headaches.
You got one, I'll call the doc.
Uncle Joe, the answer is no.
I never knew anyone could be so doggone stubborn. Can't you see what this...
Looks like we interrupted an argument.
If we promise to sit quietly, can we listen?
Your Uncle Joe thinks the Shady Rest needs a house doctor.
What for? That's the silliest thing I ever heard.
It's ridiculous.
Hi, Doc.
Well, so you're the new house doctor.
Hi, my name's Betty Jo. Hi, I'm Bobby Jo. Do you find
Are you going to be baseball?
Come on, girls. Supper's on the table. I hope you understand. It's nothing personal. It's just that we don't need a doctor around here. At least that's what I thought.
Away from the sink, Mom. I'll wash.
I'll wipe.
And I'll nag. Now, Mom, about Dr. Bailey, you just...
Girls, you're wasting your time.
Mom, he's so handsome.
He speaks so beautiful, and he's so well-read. And he said he'd play ball with me later.
Oh, well, instead of a doctor, maybe we should get a young, good-looking baseball player who went to Harvard.
We're not just thinking of ourselves. What about all the people in Hooterville?
Well, you know that they're not going to leave old Doc Stewart and come way out here.
Oh, Mom, you gotta give yours.
Wait a minute, girls. I like Dr. Bailey. He's a very nice young man, and he's probably a good doctor. But...
Oh, great, Mom. I'll tell him.
What'd I say?
What do you think of it?
You got the initials in the wrong place. It should be Matthew M.D. Bailey.
That M.D. stands for Doctor of Medicine.
Well, then shouldn't it be D.M.?
Give me a hand with this door, will you, Floyd? I want to get the doc's office fixed up today so he can start practicing on his patients.
More reference books. He said these were all he had. Well, I found these in my closet.
The Bobbsey Twins at Camp David and How to Feel Grounders by Pepper Martin.
What kind of medical books are those?
Well, in this one, both the Bobbsey twins get the measles.
What is that supposed to be?
An operating table. Patient's got to have a place to lie down when he's operating on him.
Well, I'm afraid all of his operating is going to be taking out splinters. So let's put a sheet on it, huh? Well, you couldn't have timed it any better, Doctor. I just hung up your diploma. How do you like it?
Oh, it's just perfect. I don't know how to thank you people, all of you. You've made me feel like one of the family.
Well, with 3 daughters, this is the closest I'll ever get to talking about my son, the doctor.
I had Bobby make the sign. No sense in having all them sick people wait around half a day until the doc can see them.
There. That ought to do it.
Thanks. This old glove was practically falling apart.
Pneumonia.
That ought to bring them in. Now all we got to do is work out a schedule so the patients know which sickness gets them the most stamps.
What patients? Since he opened up his office, we're the only ones he's had.
And I'm beginning to feel silly every time I go in there with nothing the matter with me.
Well, I've been in for my annual checkup 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
Well, we can't give up now. This health epidemic can't last forever.
Well, I wish some traveling salesmen would stop by the hotel. Then maybe they could spread the word around when they left.
That's it. Traveling salesman.
Well, that's what I said. Well, where are they?
Right here. We have to think of Dr. Bailey as one of those new products. And how do you sell a new product? You send salesmen out on the road.
Hey, yeah, hey, that's a great idea.
Hey, Newt. Where you headed, Newt?
To see Doc Stewart.
You ever thought of using Doc Bailey out at the Shady Rest?
But I've been coming to Doc Stewart for years.
You're in a rut. What you need is a younger doctor. You realize that Doc Stewart graduated from medical school over 30 years ago? You know how many new diseases have been invented since then?
How many?
That ain't the point. Have you been sick recently?
Doc Stewart treated me for a cold 2 weeks ago.
Colds are old-fashioned. If you'd gone to Doc Bailey, you could have had your choice of instant flu or 8-day virus.
Sounds pretty expensive. Doc Stewart only charges me $2 a visit.
I can get you Doc Bailey for $1. Just tell him Joe sent you.
Thanks, Joe. I'll think about it next time I get sick.
What do you mean? What are you going into Doc Stewart's for?
We're gonna play pinochle.
Shiftless.
Miss Betty Joe, I don't need a doctor. Hey, Charlie, I forgot to pick up the mail. Oh, you lame brain. That's the 4th time this week you've done that. I don't know why I keep working with him. I ought to have my head examined.
See? You do need a doctor.
Oh, the way Charlie keeps bossing me around, he gives me a pain in the neck.
Before it gets any worse, you ought to see Dr. Bailey.
Douglas.
Well, Billy Joe, how are you?
How are you?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Have you had a physical lately?
Physical? Yes, in New York.
Oh, well, have you had a Hooterville physical?
What's the difference?
Well, when someone comes from New York to Hooterville, there's a terrific difference in climate.
Oh, there certainly is. I've never felt better in my life.
Oh, that's too bad. I mean, well, since you're feeling good, I won't bother you. How is Mrs. Douglas?
Oh, she's fine, thank you.
Oh. How's your dog?
Fine.
Well, what about,
Eb, he's great. And the cow is in wonderful shape, too.
Then I guess I'm just wasting my time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh! Mr. Douglas, what did you break?
The shutter.
Oh, hi, Joe.
I'm looking for Sam Drucker.
Huh?
Sam Drucker. You know where he is?
Well, who do you think I am?
Wait a minute. That voice is familiar. No, it couldn't be. You ain't the Sam Drucker I used to know. He was a big, strong, healthy hunk of man.
You want to see me throw you out of here?
You are Sam Drucker. But what's happened? You got so skinny.
I weighed the same for the last 20 years.
Got one of them long, lingering illnesses. You better see a doctor while it's still lingering.
And, of course, I should see the doctor up at the Shady Rest.
If we can squeeze you in. I might be able to arrange it since you're a good friend of mine.
Well, that's the first sensible thing you said. Anybody who's a good friend of yours should see a doctor. Sam Drucker's General Store. Oh, hello, Tooey. Yeah. I just came in today.
He had a bad case of appendicitis a few years ago. Let me talk to him. Hi, Tooey, old buddy. Yeah, I hear you ain't been feeling so good. Oh, you are? Well, you want to watch out for them good health symptoms. That's a sure sign of an approaching illness. Say, Tooey, you still got your appendix? Well, you have? How'd you like to have somebody take it off your hand? Well, you want to wait till you can find a good surgeon, huh? Say, Tooey, how'd you like to come out to Shady Rest for supper some night? I got a great idea.
It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of.
Kate, why is it every time I get a good idea, you think it's ridiculous?
Why is it every time you get a ridiculous idea, you think it's good?
Girls liked it.
I'm sure they did, and I'm beginning to see why they got me out of the hotel and said they'd fix supper.
Well, what's wrong with that? You've been working too hard.
Uncle Joe, whenever you worry about me working too hard, it seems that I wind up working too hard.
This time it's going to be different.
It certainly is, because you're going into town and tell Tooey not to come.
Evening, folks.
Hi, Tooey.
Well, it sure was nice of you folks to ask me out here to supper.
I figure there's nothing like having your friends around when you ain't feeling too good.
Joe, I told you on the phone I feel fine.
Now tell the truth, Tooey. Do you feel fine all over, or just in places?
Well, every once in a while my appendix rears up and lets out a whinny.
Lets out a whinny, huh? What do you think, Doc?
I couldn't say without an examination. Have you seen a surgeon?
Well, that's Tooey's problem. He won't just let any old surgeon operate on him. He wants to make sure the guy knows what he's doing. Right, Tooey?
That's right.
All right, girls. Bring on the supper. Want me to do the carving?
Don't be silly. When we have one of the finest doctors in the state sitting at our table?
Dr. Bailey wanted in surgery.
Just a minute. I'll be glad to carve, but I don't know the first thing about it. I never... Wait a minute. Mrs. Bradley, would you please stop?
All right, doctor. The patient is ready.
We sterilized all the instruments. Scalpel?
Scalpel?
Scalpel. Forceps?
Forceps? Forceps?
You have no choice, Doc. Remember the Hippocratic Oath.
Kate, you know better than to talk to a doctor when he's operating. One slip of the knife and...
I don't think the patient is in any position to care one way or another.
Louis, look at them surgeon's fingers. Like he was born with a knife in his hand.
Would you like to cut the stitches now so you can get at the stuffing?
Why not?
Boy, that really was a good meal.
Never mind the meal. Didn't Doc Bailey do a great job of carving?
Say, he sure did. You know, I might want him to do a job for me one of these days.
You mean you'll let him take out your appendix?
No, I'll let him carve my turkey for me on Thanksgiving.
I think the reason Doc Bailey isn't getting any patients is because everybody thinks he's too young.
I know what you mean. They told me I was too young when I started. I might have waited a long time, except for an emergency that took old Doc Hamlin out of town.
What happened?
Well, when he was away, Granny Campbell came down with pneumonia. I pulled her through. Word got around, and from then on, I was in.
I see. Well, much obliged for your advice, Doc.
I'm afraid I haven't been much help. If there's anything I can do...
When are you planning on going out of town?
What is it, Kate?
Uncle Joe, I don't feel good.
What hurt you?
Well, my head and my feet and everything in between.
Take it easy, Kate. Keep calm. Don't get excited.
No.
Don't worry about a thing. I'm around. I'll take you up to your room. Just leave everything to me.
The stairs are that way.
Oh, sure. I just didn't want to make too sharp a turn.
Uncle Joe, I can manage to get to my room. Just send Doc Bailey right up, huh?
He ain't around, Kate. He went into town a little while ago.
Oh? Well, you gotta go get him. Take the hand card. Tell him it's an emergency.
Right, Kate.
Listen, Bob, you don't look so good. Oh, good.
Hey, Sam, you seen Doc Bailey?
No, I haven't.
I gotta find him. Kate's real sick. Could hardly crawl up the stairs.
What's up, Sam?
It's Kate. I think something happened to her on the stairs.
Yeah, Kate fell down a whole flight of stairs.
She rolled right down into the cellar.
Keep a feeding that boiler, Floyd. We gotta get the doc out to Kate's before it's too late.
Charlie, don't talk like that. She's just gotta pull through.
Doc's here, Kate.
Oh, Doc Bailey, I'm sure glad you could make it. I've got an awful... What are you doing here?
Well, Joe said it was an emergency.
Well, yeah, but he was supposed to bring back Doc Bailey.
He couldn't find him. Now, let me look at you.
But I want a young, modern doctor.
But I've always examined you.
Yeah, but that was when I was sick. When I'm well, I want a young, modern doctor.
Now, look here. Joe got me out of a poker game to come here. I threw away 3 queens and 2 aces when I came.
That's a full house. I'm sorry, Doc. There's nothing wrong with me. I just wanted to be Doc Bailey's Granny Campbell. So's he could cure me. And then folks wouldn't mind so much about his being young.
Has Joe heard this story?
Are you kidding? Sharing a secret with Uncle Joe is like putting it on that Telstar thing.
Well, I guess I'll just have to wait for Dr. Bailey to diagnose this serious illness of yours.
How is she, Doc?
It beats me. I've got to tell you, I never ran across a case like this before.
Don't the symptoms tell you anything?
Some of her symptoms you wouldn't believe. What I need is a young, modern doctor to consult with. You don't know where I can find one, do you?
How about Doc Bailey?
Well, yes. Come on, son.
Pulse and respiration normal.
Oh.
Lungs clear, heartbeat regular.
Oh.
Baffling, isn't it?
All right, exactly where is the pain?
Well, it sort of starts up here and it crosses my back and down my hip and it sort of winds up on my knee.
Anything else?
Well, when I breathe, there's a whistle in my ear.
Which ear? That might be very important.
The right?
Ah, well, as long as it wasn't the left.
Oh, well, come to think of it, it is the left. See how sick I am? I can't tell my right from my left. My God, Doc.
Well, according to your symptoms, your appendix is attached to your kneecap, and you're breathing through your ears. I'd say you have a pretty advanced case of fakeritis.
Huh?
There's not a thing wrong with you, and you know it.
Well, okay, but nobody else does.
Look, I know what you're trying to do for me, and I appreciate it. But I want nothing more to do with this emergency case.
Never mind, Doc. The patient's cured. It's okay, folks. Kate's going to be fine. Dr. Bailey just pulled her through the crisis.
Yes, Mrs. Parker. The doctor will be able to see you Wednesday at 3:15. Please don't be late. Bye.
You know, it just might be somebody wanting some groceries. Sam Drucker's General Store.
Hello? Oh, Mr. Carey. Well, he's all filled up on Thursday. I'll call you if there's a cancellation. Bye.
Dr. Bailey's Hooterville office.
Just have the prescription filled, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, huh?
Thanks, Doc.
Sorry, Uncle Joe. You'll have to wait your turn. You're next, Mr. Benson.
Oh, thank you.
Fine thing when a man can't even see his own house, Doctor.
What are you complaining about? I just just wanted to ask him what he'd like for lunch.
Peoticoat Junction. This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
Look me up when you get downtown, baby. Downtown's where we're really gonna live it up. Hop on a bus that goes across town. Get yourself
All right,
a transfer
girls.
and come on down. Live it
Boys,
up.
that's enough.
Downtown.
Boys, girls, girls, boys, girls.
Look me up when you get down.
Hey, wait a second. What's the matter? Somebody stole a record player.
I didn't think you'd notice.
Gosh, Mrs. Bradley, don't you like music?
I didn't hear any music.
But Mrs. Bradley, that was King Ring-a-Ding.
Henrietta, you're putting me on.
He's the biggest recording star in the world.
What world?
Well, can we have the record player back?
No. I need the lobby for the every other Wednesday afternoon discussion club.
Are you going to make plans for the high school benefit?
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any ideas?
We're having a square dance.
Oh, you mean like do-si-do and away we go?
Very funny, very funny.
Mom, none of the kids will buy tickets to a square dance.
Why don't we get King Ring-a-Ding?
We're having a square dance.
But, Mom, that's for old folks. Oh, I didn't mean you. I meant the other old folks. I mean, the other old folks who aren't as old as you. I mean...
It's going to be very interesting to see how you're going to get yourself out of this.
How about getting King Ring-a-Ding?
I don't know why the ladies' club should take over the benefit anyway. It's for our high school football team.
Well, who raised the money for the high school gymnasium equipment?
The ladies' club, but that doesn't mean that we have to
At least
take
have a
over.
little faith in us.
We have lots of faith in you, Mrs. Bradley. It's just that there must be a better idea than a square dance.
How about getting King Ring-a-Ding?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Out.
Oh, darling, I don't want to go in. You know I hate to join
I know,
anything.
Lisa, but this is a great honor. These women have asked you to join their club. This means they've accepted you as a member of the Hooterville community.
Well, I'm very flattered, but
Well, you should be. After all, they don't ask everybody to join their every other Wednesday afternoon discussion club.
But I may not have anything to discuss every other Wednesday, and I may have something to discuss on the Wednesdays when they don't have any discussion, or I might have something to discuss on a Tuesday.
Stop stalling.
Darling?
If you're nervous, I'll go in with you.
Oh, good. Come on.
Kate, when is the meeting going to start?
As soon as Mrs. Douglas gets here.
Oh, why do we have to wait for... Oh, Mrs. Douglas. Why, how nice to see you.
I'm so glad you could come.
Thank you.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'll wait outside.
No. Please stay.
Oh, do. It would be so nice to have a man's point of view in our woman's discussion.
No, I think I'd better...
Darling, do sit down.
The meeting will now come to order, and because we have a lot of business to discuss, we'll dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Just a minute, Kate. You cannot dispense with the reading of the minutes until somebody makes that motion and we all vote on it. Isn't that right, Mr. Douglas?
Oh, Mrs. Finney, according to parliamentary
You
procedure...
see?
All right, Tilly. I make the motion.
Point of order. The chairwoman cannot make a motion. Isn't that right, Mr. Douglas?
Oh, I think that...
Thank you. I'll make the motion. I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes.
All those in favor? The motion has been carried unanimously.
Just a minute. It was not unanimous. Mr. Douglas did not have his hand.
No, I'm not a member, Mrs. Finney.
Please, Mr. Douglas, I have the floor.
Tilly, how would you like to move a little closer to the gavel? And now, we have to discuss some very important new business.
What about old business?
We'll talk about you later. As you all know, we have to raise some money for the Hooterville High football team. And before we decide on a square dance...
We're not going to have a square dance.
Tilly, you're out of order.
Madam Chairwoman.
Chairwoman.
Yes, Mrs. Douglas.
Once in New York, we raised $60,000 for an evening.
$60,000?
How did you do that? Well, we auctioned off all our mink coats.
Are there any other suggestions? Now, one at a time, please. Order, one at a time.
Madam Chairwoman, I have a suggestion.
You are not going to suggest that stale gay 90s party again.
Stale?
I'm glad you agree. Now, to get back to the square dance.
Nobody will ever come to a square dance. Will they, Mr. Douglas?
Oh, I would imagine.
I'm glad you agree.
Oliver once had a great idea how to raise money.
We all got together and chartered...
They tried that at Pixley. They lost their shirts.
Tilly, would you please let Mr. Douglas tell us what he lost his shirt on? Not that he lost his shirt. His shirt is probably... Oh. Go on, Mr. Douglas. Let the minutes show that Mr. Douglas sneaked out at exactly 4:12.
A square dance. Well, it was either that or a gay 90s party, and Mom won. You call that winning? Boy, if she expects us to buy tickets for that. I've been thinking about King Ring-a-Ding. So have I. No, I mean about getting him to come here. Stop dreaming. He might. Well, after all, he's always doing benefits, and we're the charter members of the Hooterville branch of the Ring-a-Ding fan club. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to write him a letter and ask him. Great.
And if you would appear at our benefit, it would make it a smashing success. And we'd be able to buy uniforms for the Hooterville High School football team. They gotta be kidding, eh?
Please. Wait a minute. Did you say Hooterville?
I couldn't make up a name like that, King.
That's my alma mater.
Come on.
I graduated from Hooterville High. Who's that letter from?
It's a Billy Joe, Bobby Joe, and Betty Joe Bradley.
Those are Mrs. Bradley's daughters. Well, she was the one who encouraged me to sing. She even lent me the $20 so I could get to Chicago for my first audition.
So I'll send her a check.
No, if I can help them out, it's the least I can do.
Look, King, every cocky mamie benefit would like to have King Ring-a-Ding.
They don't even know I'm King Ring-a-Ding. Back there, everybody knows me as Herbie Willits.
You promised never to use that hokey name.
I'm sorry, but that's who I am. Herbie Willits.
Look me up when you get downtown, baby. Downtown, baby, really gonna live it up. Up on a bus that goes from town.
You can still hear it it, but it's not quite as bad out here. Oh. Yes, sir. What can I do?
Herbie! Herbie Willits! Oh, how are you?
Just fine, Miss Bradley.
Oh, my goodness, you look so prosperous. What have you been doing?
Singing.
Oh, I knew you'd be a success with that beautiful voice of yours. Oh, and those wonderful ballads you used to sing. Take Me Home Again, Kathleen, and Home on the Range. Not like those things that Ding-a-ling sings.
That's ring-a-ding.
Well, ring-a-ding-a-ling-a-ling. His name is more musical than his voice.
You don't like him?
Let me put it this way. If I were to meet him face to face, Well, first I'd cut his hair, and then I'd go to work on his vocal cords. Well, tell me all about yourself. And what are you doing back in Hooterville?
Right now, I'm not quite sure.
This is a stroke of fate.
Huh?
We're having a benefit to raise funds for the high school's athletic fund. So would you sing for us?
Well, I don't think
Oh, please, Herbie. You'd make it such a success, and we need lots of money.
Well, I'd like to,
Oh,
but...
thank you, Herbie. Wait till I tell the kids. Boys, girls, boys and girls. Quiet! Thank you. Now, I'd like you to meet a really famous singer, Herbie Willits.
How do you...
Who? Herbie Willits.
What's a Herbie Willits?
Wait till you children hear Herbie sing Bury Me Not on the Lone Prairie.
Why?
We'll be seeing you.
Have you ever made any records?
You.
What is your latest?
If I told you the title, you wouldn't believe it.
Herbie's going to sing at the benefit.
But we already wrote King Ring-a-Ding and asked him to appear.
Oh, you'll never hear from him. Will they, Herbie?
Under the circumstances, I doubt it.
From this valley, they say you are going. We will miss your bright eyes.
3 days of this. Can't he play anything else? Oh, sure. Sweet Adeline, Down by the Old Mill Stream, and Waltz Me Around Again, Willie. And those are the newer ones.
Our pathway a while. Come and sit by my
Say, Kate.
You love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu.
Herbie has such a beautiful voice, and it's so relaxing.
So's chloroform. It works quicker.
Well, did you find out how the ticket sale is going?
Sam Drucker and Newt Kyler are having a ticket selling contest. Day before yesterday, Newt hadn't sold any, and Sam had one maybe. Now they're neck and neck. Sam's maybe conked out.
You just wait till the folks find out that Herbie's singing.
The word's getting around. Kate, you ought to get wise. People don't like this sweet singing anymore. They want this rock and rye. I think the girls are right. You ought to try and get that King Ring-a-Ding.
I told you he wouldn't come. The least he could have done is answer our letter. I'm resigning from the Ring-a-Ding fan club.
Why?
Because King Ring-a-Ding is a rat fink.
Oh, wait a second.
He's a double rat fink. But he's wonderful.
What did he do?
We wrote him and asked him to appear at the benefit, and he ignored our letter.
Maybe he has a good excuse.
There's no excuse for rudeness. If he didn't want to come, the least he could do is write us and tell us.
Girls, don't tell your mother, but he is here.
Where?
Right here. I'm King Ring-a-Ding. But I am!
Herbie, you've been drinking too much of Mom's lemonade.
I tell you, I'm King Ring-a-Ding. I didn't want to say so because your mom can't stand him, and I owe her a big favor.
Oh, Herbie, go away.
All right, I'll prove that I'm him.
Look me up when you get downtown, baby. Downtown's where we're really gonna live it up. Hop on a bus that goes across town. Get yourself a transfer and come on.
What a terrible imitation.
Live it up.
The worst.
Live it up.
Turn that record off.
Well, that wasn't a record. That was Herbie. He's trying to imitate the world's greatest singer.
Herbie, I'm surprised at you. You'll ruin your beautiful voice.
But I was just...
I never want to hear you do that again.
Oh, man.
Joe, you can't send this message.
Why not?
It's insulting.
What's insulting about it?
King Ring-a-Ding, you are a bum.
Well, he is.
Well, you can't send this over the telegraph wires.
Look, Sam, you're a public conveyance. You do as you're told.
But, Joe.
Look, the girls wrote him a nice letter asking him to appear. If he ain't got the common decency to answer them, I've got the common decency to call him a bum, which he is. You want the benefit to be a success?
Sure.
All right, send it. Collect.
You did what?
I sent a telegram to King Ring-a-Ding. It'll burn his ears off. He'll show up.
But we don't want him. We've got Herbie.
The kids want King Ring-a-Ding. No offense, Herbie, but you just ain't a good singer. Well, what I meant is that he ain't a good singer in the kind of songs he sings.
Why don't you stay out of this?
I'm out of it. When King Ring-a-Ding will show up, then they won't have to listen to Herbie. No offense, Herbie, just that nobody likes to listen to you.
I like to listen to him.
Well, now's your chance. Sing something for her, Herbie. But wait till I get up to my room.
Look, Reese, did you get a wire from Hooterville?
Yep. It cost me $8.50 to find out you're a bum.
Well, I want you to send them an answer.
I've got one all written, if the telegraph office will take it.
No, not that kind of answer. Now, here's what I want you to say.
This don't make sense. Okay. I'll send it.
The answer to my telegram arrived yet?
What's your name?
Please, Mr. Drucker, it's important.
Here.
What's it say? Is he coming?
Give me that. It's addressed to me.
What does it say?
It says King Ring-a-Ding would like to appear at your benefit, but he won't appear on the same bill with a great singer like Herbie Willits.
Sam, will you stop reading my telegrams before I open them?
I didn't read it. I just wrote it down when they phoned it in from Pixley.
Is that what it says? Yes.
Give me that. It ain't official until I read it. Girls, the king won't appear if Herbie Willits sings on the program.
That Herbie Willits. If he weren't here, we could get King Ring-a-Ding. What are we going to do?
That's simple. We'll just get rid of Herbie Willits.
Uncle Joe.
No, not permanent. We'll just give him a temporary horse to combat.
Uncle Joe, we can't do a thing like that. And what have you got in mind?
Shh. You want to wake up the whole house?
Will it work, Uncle Joe?
Of course it'll work. It's based on the scientific principle of blowing air over ice.
We mean, will it give Herbie laryngitis?
Of course.
I don't think we should do this.
You want King Ring-a-Ding to come, don't you?
Yes?
Little laryngitis never hurt nobody. Turn on the fan. That's about 32 degrees below Fahrenheit. Get some more ice.
I'm going to have to put some more blankets on the beds. It was awful cold last night.
You were probably dreaming there was cold air coming out of the furnace.
Why would I dream that?
I don't know. Must have been something you had.
Morning, Herbie.
Good morning, everybody.
What's wrong with your voice?
I've got laryngitis.
I gotta send a telegram.
Gee, that's too bad, Herbie. Now you won't be able to sing.
Well, of course he will. We'll just doctor him up with some hot water and honey.
Oh, that won't work.
Why not?
Well,
I'm allergic to honey.
he's allergic to honey.
Well, just think of something else.
What do you want to do that for?
So he can sing at the benefit.
Oh, but, Mom, if Herbie can't sing, then we can get King Ring-a-Ding.
Did either of you girls have anything to do with Herbie's...
No. I always get laryngitis. If you can get King Ring-a-Ding, get him.
It says Herbie Willits has laryngitis. Send the king.
Send them a telegram saying the king will appear.
How can the king appear if Herbie has laryngitis, which you don't have?
Well, I do have it, but I don't.
Man, those small towns must really swing. Give me another reading on that.
Reese, now listen to me. I don't have laryngitis. They just think I have. I'm going to sing at the benefit.
Why, that double-crossing. Letting me waste all that ice on a fake case of laryngitis.
Mom, do you know how much we've taken in for tonight? Enough for football uniforms, basketball uniforms, baseball equipment. And all because King Ring-a-Ding's appearing.
Well, I wouldn't plan on spending any of that money, not until you're sure he's going to be here.
He'll be here.
You coming, Herbie?
No, I'd feel better staying here.
Is that all the louder you can talk? Yeah. Come on out in the kitchen. I got something that might fix that throat up.
Well, I don't know.
Come on, I'll be right back. I got a little homemade voice smoother in the basement.
Well, I don't really want any.
Well, of course you do.
Let me out of here. Let me out.
I told you I could cure your voice.
But you don't understand.
See you later.
Come on, let me out of here. What do you think you're doing, you idiot? Come on, open up. Come on.
What is that?
Herbie's taking a get your voice back exercise. Keep it up, Herbie.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, our star attraction for this evening is King Ring-a-Ding. But before we start the entertainment, we'll hear from Charlie Pratt and Floyd Smoot.
Steam, cinders, and smoke. Steam, cinders, and smoke. It's a long, long track, but we're glad we're back to steam, cinders, and smoke. Steam, cinders, and smoke. Steam, cinders, and smoke. A pension plan for a railroad man is a mighty fine thing, they say.
Did he get here yet?
No. I told you.
Oh, he'll get here.
Where is he?
Let me out. Let me out.
And now for their third number.
We want King Ring-a-Ding. We want King Ring-a-Ding.
He'll be here.
Pension plan for a railroad man.
For their 15th number.
Mom, what are we going to do?
Well, you better give them back their money, or we're going to have to hold another benefit to build a new high school auditorium.
Right. Wait, he's here.
Sorry I'm late, subjects. I was unavoidably detained.
Never mind the excuses. Get out there and yeah.
You got a beautiful voice.
How can you tell with all that screaming?
I want to listen.
Thank you very much, loyal subjects. And for my next number, I'm going to sing my latest hit, Surfboard Rock.
Isn't he the greatest?
One thing I'll say for him, you can't tell when he's singing off key. Uncle Joe, how could you do a thing like that, locking poor Herbie in the cellar?
Oh, he was faking that laryngitis. He was going to foul up our benefit.
Herbie? Herbie, where are you? Herbie, what? Well, what are you? You're not Herbie. You're that ding-a-dong.
Could you help me in, please? I'm stuck.
Well, all right. Oh, I'm sorry, Herbie. Herbie? But this is... You mean you're him?
Yes, ma'am.
Why, Herbie Willits.
Mrs. Bradley, nobody wants to hear Herbie Willits. Can you forgive me?
Well, after all, you did raise a lot of money, and the kids like you.
Thank you.
Herbie, could you do me a favor?
Sure, anything.
Would you sing one of the songs you sang tonight?
You mean you like them?
No, I just want to know what the words are.
Kool-Aid babe, let's make it a date downtown.
Listen to Herbie doing that corny imitation for Mom.
Downtown's where we're really gonna live it up.
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
I begin to worry.
What?
It's when he stops making noise, I begin to...
Water's running again, Kate.
There. It's okay now.
Uncle Joe, would you please call a plumber?
Kate, ain't you got no confidence in me? You remember when I fixed the furnace? And the wiring downstairs? And the refrigerator?
I'll get the plumber.
You'll just be wasting your money. See?
Help! Somebody help!
Oh, no.
All I did was turn on the faucet then, Zowie.
Don't worry, Kate. I'll have it fixed for you before you say Jack Robinson.
Before I say Jack Robinson, there are a lot of other choice things I can say.
I'll be right back.
Where are you going?
To Drucker's store to get some supplies. Anything I can get for you while I'm there?
Get me a plumber!
Kid Dynamite. If I was 3 years younger, I'd fight him myself.
If you was 3 years younger, you'd be too old for Social Security.
They say he's got the hardest punch since John L. Sullivan.
Punch don't mean anything. Footwork that counts.
Hey, Joe, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do the Watts of Tootsie.
Listen, if I had a week's time, I could train any one of you guys to lick the Dynamite Kid.
No, not me, you couldn't. I wouldn't get in the ring with him if he'd been dead 5 years.
How about you, Floyd? Be the easiest $25 you ever picked up.
25? You get 100.
I know I do. But out of the goodness of my heart, I'd give you 25 of that.
Now, just a moment. If Floyd is going to fight him, how come you get $75?
That's the standard training fee.
According to who?
Listen, Sam, I just charge the fees. I don't question who sets them. My plumbing stuff ready?
Yeah, right here.
Where's the sledgehammer?
Why don't you fight him yourself, Joe, and keep the whole 100?
Don't think I couldn't. All it takes is brains and muscle.
Well, that knocks you out on both counts.
But, Mr. Carson, I'm a first-class plumber. And anyway, Mrs. Bradley's the one that hired me.
I'm a master plumber, and I'm unhiring you. Now, this bathroom ain't big enough for the two of us. And I got seniority. Now, if you want to pick up a few tricks, hang around.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see. First, we're going to need an L-shaped hunk of pipe.
Yes, sir.
No, that's not the right shape. Can you do figure eights?
Yes, sir.
Beginner's luck. Well, now let's get to work. Trench.
Oh, there it is on the floor, Mr. Carson. You're standing on it.
Did it hurt you, son?
Well, what'd you do?
Hit you in the head with a hammer.
Oh, well, I wouldn't feel that. The kids are always cracking walnuts on my head.
$28?
Well, yes, ma'am. And I didn't charge nothing for undoing everything Mr. Carson done and listening to his stories.
Wait a minute. I was just giving you the benefit of my wealth of master plumbing experience.
Excuse me, Mr. Carson. I'll have this hooked up in no time.
About this $28.
Consider it paid.
It's ridiculous.
You ain't heard it all yet.
I have heard enough. Herman could get himself hurt fighting that kid, what's his name?
Not with me training him. Well, he's strong as a bull. Oh, sorry.
For what?
No.
Let's leave it up to Herman. Herman, Mrs. Bradley can't pay you. Now, do you want to go and face your boss without the money?
Well, not if I can help it.
See, Kate, he's willing. All he's got to do is stay 3 rounds with this panty-waist fighter, and he'll make himself $100. Minus my manager's fee, of course.
Your what?
You don't expect me to make him the champion of the world for nothing, do you?
I will not have Herman fighting for his money. I'll find some way to see that he gets paid.
Stick around for supper, son. I think she's weakening. I can see it now. The Shady Rest will become the fight capital of the world. Fighters will come from all over to train here. The Cannonball will have to put on 6 extra cars to haul the overflow. But, Kate...
Uncle Joe, Herman is not a fighter.
He don't have to be a fighter. He's indestructible. Turn your head this way, Herman.
Any more asparagus?
Take a swing at him with this.
Certainly not.
Ready, Joe?
No, thanks.
Bobby?
I don't think so.
Well, for crying out loud, what do you have to do to...
What's for dessert?
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it.
See, Kate, even your own kin can see that he can't be hurt.
Well, I must admit that his
Thanks,
head
Kate.
is...
You just gave us a new champion of the world.
Gosh, Uncle Joe, is he strong?
Well, he needs a little hardening up. Hey, Herman, use the other hand.
Yes, sir.
Couldn't have set them posts better myself.
Well, what are you going to use for the ring ropes?
Simple.
That's Mom's wash.
It's okay, it's dry. Looks pretty good, don't it?
What are you going to use for the ring floor?
I got a tarpaulin.
You'll need padding.
Yeah, well, that's all taken care of. Where's your mother?
In the kitchen.
Good. Bobby Joe, let's have the padding.
How's my aim?
Uncle Joe, what happened to my wash?
You should have been out here, Kate. There was this big wind.
Yeah, and you're still here.
Kate, it's a small sacrifice to make when you're going to be the new home of the Madison Square Garden.
And what is this?
That's a squared circle.
And what are those lumps? And if they are what I think they are, you're going to get yours.
I don't know. They're just some old that I put under there.
Old what?
I didn't look at them very close, Kate. I don't know.
Want another mattress, Uncle Joe?
No, thanks, Bobby. I ain't sleepy.
Uh-huh. Put those back on the beds.
But, Kate...
Put those back on the bed.
Herman.
Yes, sir. What's your pleasure?
Nothing. Kate gets the mattress back on the bed. She'll have to fight him for them.
Here you are, everybody. Apple pie.
Oh, boy, Bobby Joe, that sure does look good. That is good, Bobby Joe.
That does it. Uncle Joe? Uncle Joe, do you realize that Herman ate 2 chickens, a roast, a loaf of bread, and 2 whole apple pies?
Hey, he's got to keep up his strength. He's a well-oiled fighting machine.
Eating machine is more like it. And we're going to go broke keeping him oiled.
Remember, a future champion uses up a lot of energy. You got to expect him to eat a lot more than the rest of us Hooterville folks.
All put together?
Time. I said time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle Joe.
Bobby, if you don't pay attention, how am I going to get Herman in shape?
I've almost finished drawing the advertising picture of Herman. See?
That's not bad. We'll have Sam run off a few thousand of those, and the hurricane here will be world famous. Okay, now let's get back to shadowboxing. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to jab, hooking, and crossing. Now to jab, you got to shift your weight from your left foot to your right. Notice how I got in close to you before you knew what I was doing?
Yes, sir, Mr. Carson.
Uncle Joe, guess who's registering? Kid Dynamite.
You're Kid Dynamite, huh?
This is Mrs. Hogan.
I'm Kid Dynamite's mother and his manager, Fatso.
I'm Joe Carson.
Is this the bum you're managing?
Bum. He's going to take that kid of yours apart and forget how to put him back together.
Hey, did you hear that, kid?
Yeah. Kid, didn't I see him fighting in the Spanish-American War?
You listen to me, chubby. If this creep lasts 1 round, I'll know the fight is fixed.
But you listen to me. I'm going to...
Wait a minute, Mac. Watch what you're doing. No one lays a hand on my mom, mister. No one. No one. No one.
Say there, feller. You leave Mr. Carson alone.
You stay out of this. Oh, my hand!
Got the 100 ready? fortune.
No.
Yeah, but a little side bet. You saw the kid hit Herman. Didn't do a thing to him.
I am not interested.
Hi, Miss Hogan. How's your son, the kid with the cream puff punch?
Hey, where do you keep your pots and pans?
Oh, you don't have to bother. I do all the cooking for the hotel.
Not for Kid Dynamite, you won't. Besides, it's gonna cut down on the gate if it ever gets out that the same cook is dishing up meals for my boy and your fighter.
Don't call him my fighter. I don't want any part of this boxing match. And besides, my cooking is entirely neutral.
All the grub in the world ain't gonna help Dynamite when the hurricane cuts loose.
Carson, you're all gab and no geeters.
What does that mean?
In polite language, it means put your money where your mouth is. I got 5 C's here, just crying to be covered.
Oh, come out of it, Uncle Joe. It's only $500.
Well, loudmouth, how's about it? Or is it a bit too steep for you, tin horn?
Nobody calls Joe Carson a tin horn. I'll bet your $500 against this hotel.
Uncle Joe, this isn't your hotel to bet. Now clear out, both of you, so that I can cook, or nobody's going to eat around here.
But, Kay,
Out, both of you.
I'm staying. I'm cooking for my boy because I don't want him to get indigestion.
Are you insinuating that my cooking gives you indigestion?
Only if you eat it.
The hurricane eats it.
Ah, that overstuffed slob. He won't even last half a round.
Using your homemade expression, put your money where your mouth is.
My 500 against the hotel.
You're on.
Uncle Joe! Oh!
You got nothing to worry about, Kate. You saw Herman take the kid's best punch.
Howdy. What's for dinner?
What do you know about that? He's got a glass stomach.
I think these posters of Herman turned out real good, don't you?
Might as well throw him away, Betty Jo. First time Herman gets hit in the stomach, it's all over.
Oh, Uncle Joe, every fighter has a weakness. And Kid Dynamite must be a sucker for something.
Yeah, what is it? What is it?
No one lays a hand on my mom, mister. No one. No one.
What is it, Uncle Joe?
Betty Jo, I've got it. I've got a way to fizzle the Dynamite's fuse.
Only low punches now, no rabbit punches. Good luck, boys. Come on, fighting. I just can't wait to get him.
He's got a hard jaw.
Yeah, but I bet he's got a soft tongue.
Come on, Junior.
Gosh, Mom, isn't this exciting? Mom, what have you got there?
Smelling salt.
Put it away. Herman isn't going to need any of them.
They're not for Herman, they're for me, just in case.
I thought Uncle Joe said they'd be standing room only.
Now remember what I taught you, champ.
But don't worry, Herman. He's just as nervous as you are.
Looks like a picture of Mrs. Hogan.
I know, I drew it.
What?
It's Uncle Joe's secret weapon.
That's a boy. Break it up. Break it up.
Hit him in the breadbasket, Junior, right in the stomach.
But I can't hit you, Ma.
It's working, Uncle Joe.
Yeah, there's more than one way to skin a skunk. Bring it up. Clobbering, Herman.
Hit him in the stomach, Junior, the stomach. Junior, come along now.
Give it up, champ. Just 2 more rounds to go.
Let me pull you off.
Why didn't you hit him in the kitchen, Junior? It's only a picture.
I couldn't hit you, Ma. I love you, Ma.
Remember, Junior, right in the love buns.
I'll try, Ma. Hey, look, Ma. It's gone.
What do I do now? What do I do?
Cover up, Herman! Keep your middle covered up! Cover up, Herman!
That's my boy. Oh, you're great.
One, two, three.
He's getting up.
Ma, I'm gonna kill him this time, Ma.
Yeah, kill him.
I'll fix it with my mascara.
You're doing great, Herman. We'll just give you a fast paint job.
Well, I already had one, Mr. Carson. Black and blue.
Oh, that's what you made me do.
Hey, Herman. Come on.
Hey, Ma, look, they've done it again.
That ain't me, Junior. See the mustache? Why, it's your no good pa. Clobber him, Junior. Clobber him
Hey, look at him. Got him down. Hey,
Junior, please. Oh, there he is.
Get up, Herman. Get up.
Herman, there's only a few seconds left. Get up.
You're my boy.
Hey, Ma, he won't get up for about a week.
Hey, he's getting up, you big lunk.
Don't call me a big lunk, Ma. I have to belt you one.
He done it. He stayed 3 rounds. Yeah.
The hotel is saved. The hotel is saved. Oh, lovely. Sure lucky she brought the smelling salts.
That overflowing crowd you expected wasn't even a groundswell.
You mean the gate receipts only come to $4?
Big shot, you gave everybody free passes.
Even so, we got the $500 from Mrs. Hogan and another 100 because we stayed 3 rounds with the kid Dynamite.
We stayed? From where I sat, it looked like Herman was doing the fighting.
Well, including the gate receipts, it all comes to $604. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Makes the trip to the county seat seem almost worthwhile.
I don't believe I've seen you before today, Mr.
Finchcliffe. I'm from the county bureau.
Finchcliffe.
Say, you did do all right, didn't you?
Oh, we sure did. After taking out expenses such as new mattresses, we cleared $451.
Did you include the $250 county license fee for staging a prize fight? And the $200 penalty for not getting the license. Making a grand total of the assessment of $450.
Leaving us a grand profit of $1.
which I'll take for new mascara.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Mr. Basement, you're one of the finest physical specimens I've ever seen. Now, the kids fighting in Crabwell Corners next week is awful.
Peoticoat Junction. This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
You're not fooling me, are you, Mrs. Douglas?
Darling, if I didn't mean it, I wouldn't have asked you.
Oh, gee, this is the most important, wonderful thing that ever happened to me. Oh, wait till I tell the kids at school that I'll be going.
Wait. It isn't settled yet. First, we have to get your mother's permission.
Oh, is that all? Well, then we're all set. Oh, thank you.
Excuse me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Douglas. Thank you.
For what?
For marrying Mrs. Douglas.
It's my pleasure.
It won't cost you anything, Mom. And besides, even if it did cost something, I could... Mom, I promise I won't be any trouble to Mrs. Douglas.
The whole thing is out of the question.
Why is it out of the question?
Because it's an imposition on Mrs. Douglas, you tagging along to New York.
Tagging along, she asked me to be her traveling companion. It was her idea.
Sure, after you worked on her for an hour like you're working on me right now.
Mom, did I tell you that Mrs. Douglas says you won't have to worry about my expenses? She's got it all...
That does it. If anything proves you're too young to go to New York, it's the way you've been carrying on for the last hour. Now, one more peep out of you and you go to your room.
Gee, just wait. You'll be sorry. When I'm an old lady of 34 hobbling around Hooterville, people will say, look at poor Betty Jo. She had a chance to go to New York, but her mother stood in her way. I'll go to my room.
You'll go farther than that. You'll go to New York.
What?
I've changed my mind. You can go to New York.
Mom! Oh, Mom, thank you. Wow! A whole week in New York!
Could you possibly make it 2? Young lady, that line looks the same as it did 10 minutes ago.
How come she gets to go to New York?
Well, I never thought I'd see petty jealousy from one of my girls. Tell you what we'll do. While Betty Jo's gone, we'll take a little trip.
Wonderful. Where?
Well, there's a marvelous bill playing at the Pixley Bijou. It's a Conrad Nagel festival.
Don't let Betty Jo find out. She'll cancel her trip to New York.
Joe, you're going to need these.
Mom, no one takes their own towels to the Ritz Savoy.
Don't tell me about big city hotels. They charge outlandish rates, and then they only give you 2 towels.
We have room.
Well, we'll just make room. He's going to stay here.
I need them.
Well, when you try out for the Yankees, maybe Phil Rizzuto will lend you his glove.
He's retired from baseball.
You see, he doesn't need his glove.
Betty Joe, I just made out a list of places of interest for you to see. These are musts.
Uncle Joe, the train's going to be here soon.
Kate, a trip to New York only comes once in a lifetime. You don't want to miss anything. Now, after you've seen the Python and the Periscope and the Flatiron Building...
Python and the Periscope?
He means the Trilon and the Perisphere. They were attractions at the World's Fair way back in 1939.
Which is well worth seeing.
The train's here.
Uncle Joe, would you go down and tell Charlie that we'll be right there?
Yep, but I want to explain to her how to get an extra slab of pie out of them little windows in the automat.
Good.
We're sure gonna miss you, Betty Joe.
I'll only be gone for a week.
A week?
Well, let's not get sickening about it. Well, it's disgusting seeing a grown man act like an old lady. Get them suitcases aboard the coach. You got to pick up Miss Douglas in time to make them bus connections in Pixley. Well, let's get the farewells over with. You have a good time, honey, and don't worry about us. We'll get along just fine.
Sure you will, Uncle Joe.
It's going to be kind of nice and quiet around here with nobody bouncing balls off the side of the hotel or running up and down the stairs.
Goodbye, dear. Have a wonderful time.
Thanks, Mom. And I sure appreciate you not loading me up with instructions.
Well, after all, you're a big girl now.
Bye, sis. Have fun. Easy, Bobby Joe. It isn't forever.
And you stay with Mrs. Douglas, and don't talk to any strangers on the train. And keep yourself bundled up.
Okay.
And write to me every day.
Mom, you promised.
And watch the food you eat. And do everything that Mrs. Douglas says. And if you should get an earache during the night...
Mom, I haven't had an earache since I was 5.
Or a sore throat. Or if you should fall down and skin your knee. Well, I'd bring down the suitcase so she isn't going.
Mom, I'll be fine.
Of course you will.
Goodbye, dear. Look who came to say goodbye. Oh, he wants to go with you. Well, you be a good boy. And don't talk to strangers. And I'll write you every day. And make sure you eat the right things. And don't get cold at night or...
Come on, honey. Goodbye, dear. You have fun. You be a good girl. I'll take that. And don't forget to write to me every day.
Okay, Mom. Bye.
Here, lady.
Careful of my luggage, conductor. Don't mar the finish.
Oh, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'll be careful, ma'am.
Come on, Floyd. You wasted enough time with this passenger. Where's Bob Betty Joe?
Why, can't you see? Who do you think?
Oh, my baby! What have they done to my baby? How do you do, Mother? Welcome. Enchanté, I'm sure. Oh, thank you all for this heartwarming reception.
Don't look at me. I don't know what happened. Mrs. Douglas came back the same way she went.
Nothing's happened. I'm still the same sweet Betty Joe that you all know and love. Oh, I've had a most exhausting ride.
Wow! What's the idea, Kate?
I just wanted to find out if you were dreaming all this. Well, dear, here you are, home again.
What did you do to it?
Do to it? Well, nothing. Same old shady rest.
It looks so small.
Same size as it was a week ago.
Gee, Betty Jo, you sure look wonderful. So different. Oh, I like your hat. It's darling. It's one like Mrs. Douglas has.
Your hair is different, isn't it?
Mrs. Douglas took me to her own hairstylist on the avenue. The avenue? Well, I thought everybody knew. Fifth Avenue. That Robert's divine. He created my hairstyle to enhance my personality.
What's left of it?
Bet none of them big city hotels got anything like this here elevator.
Well, I did see something like it. It was at the Bronx Zoo, and some pelicans were living in it.
Betty Jo, you haven't said anything about your room.
Oh, Mom, Oh, well, my room at the Ritz Savoy was 3 times this size, and so bright and cheery. And whenever I wanted anything, I merely had to call downstairs.
Anybody can do that here.
Oh, well, there, they had a phone.
Did you have breakfast in bed?
Yes, and you didn't even have to be sick.
Betty Jo, there's something missing. You must have left them in New York.
I can't imagine what.
Your mitt and your baseball cap that you sneaked into your luggage.
Those old things. Oh, I'm having them sent here by express.
Your what?
Oh, well, after all, Mother, one doesn't pack an old soiled glove in one's personal luggage. Mrs. Douglas and I were on the go every minute. Oh, you can't imagine how much there is to do in New York.
How do you like your supper?
Nightclubs, plays, and musicals, and parties. Sounds like you had a busy week. Oh, I was talking about our first night. Then Mrs. Douglas took me to all the exclusive shops and fancy restaurants.
Speaking of fancy restaurants, Pixley Diner's starting a businessman's luncheon for 35 cents.
Oh, and then one night, Mrs. Douglas and Gregory Tremaine took me to a Persian cafe, and we all had shish kebab. That's little pieces of lamb on a flaming sword.
Oh, yeah, I know what shish kebab is, but what's a Gregory Tremaine?
He's a young man Mrs. Douglas introduced me to. He's the son of one of Mr. Douglas's clients. He's at least 19 and very sophisticated.
I can imagine ordering shish kebab and all.
I'll bet it was expensive. No, not too much. If I can remember the menu, it was around $12.
Imagine $12 for 3 people.
Mother, it was $12 for each of us.
Well, that's outrageous. I could feed you all week on that much.
You gotta remember, Kate, in them flaming swords, you pay about 80 cents for the meat, and the rest of it's for fire insurance.
Then Mrs. Douglas took me to a party, and guess who we met? The most famous international...
Speaking of guess who had their hair cut at the Hooterville barbershop Saturday night? Wilbur Trammell.
The most famous international statesman that...
Wilbur Trammell? I thought he and Nora moved to Omaha.
I did, but...
And he came all the way back here for a haircut?
Well, if you'll remember, Wilbur had sort of a peculiar-shaped head. It would take a while for them Omaha barbers to catch on.
Oh, excuse us, Betty Jo. You were saying?
I was about to remark that when Mrs. Douglas and I met the ambassador from Peru, we talked about something more important than haircuts.
You met an ambassador?
Several. I had the most fascinating conversation with the French delegate to the UN about
Have
modern
some more
art.
fried chicken.
Oh, no thanks.
But I fixed it specially for you because you like it.
Chicken is so plebeian. At Francoise, Mrs. Douglas and I had pheasant under glass.
Well, I'm sure you're going to like dessert. Now, I couldn't decide which one you liked the best, so I cooked the whole shebang. We're going to have strawberry shortcake, chocolate pudding, apple turnover, blueberry pie, you name it.
No baked Alaska?
Baked Alaska?
Oh, unless you'd been to New York, you wouldn't understand. It's sort of hot ice cream.
No, I didn't get around to making it.
Maybe we could barbecue her an ice cube.
Mom, I know. Now that Betty Jo's back, let's do something we haven't done for a long time. After we do the dishes, I'll play the piano and we can all sing.
How do you country people endure this monotonous existence?
Betty Jo? Betty Jo Bradley?
Sounds like Mom's mad at Betty Jo.
Elizabeth Josephine Bradley?
She's furious. Sure glad it isn't me.
Bobby Jo Bradley?
Oh, coming, Mother!
Why aren't you out in the kitchen doing those pots and pans?
I was cleaning room number 5.
That's Betty Jo's job.
Well, so are the pots and pans.
That girl, where is she?
I'll tell you where she is. She's over at Douglas's.
Let's have that again, Uncle Joe.
She's over visiting the Douglases again. She ought to start paying them rent. I'm sick and tired of every time she...
Oh, listen! Oh, there you are, Mother. I have some delightful news for you.
Isn't that a coincidence? I have some delightful news for you, too. The pots and pans are in the kitchen, and number 5 is waiting to be cleaned up.
How can you possibly talk about such mundane matters when Gregory Tremaine is coming?
When he gets here, he can help me sort out this wash, which a certain niece of mine should be doing instead of me. And I go...
Now get out of that fancy get-up and into some work clothes. You've got a lot of... Who's coming?
Gregory Tremaine. I told you all about him. He's that fascinating young man Mrs. Douglas introduced me to in New York.
Oh, that's a good one. Thanks, Kate. Well, that's the fire eater, the kid with the flaming sword.
He's passing by on his way to the coast, and he's stopping by to have dinner with me tomorrow night.
You mean he's coming here to the Shady Rest?
Yes, and I want you all to make sure...
Wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. And since he was so nice to you in New York, I'm going to cook him a special dinner. Let's see. I'll have baked ham, candied sweet potatoes, blueberry pie. Is something wrong?
You can't possibly serve that plebeian food to a sophisticated man of the world like Gregory Tremaine.
You know, what does he eat? Hummingbird earlobes and cricket kneecaps, El Casserole?
I've already made out the menu. Mother?
Pheasant under glass, artichoke hearts Meunier, peaches Marchambeau, trout almondine.
Oh, you can cook them, can't you?
I can't even pronounce them. Where did you dig up such a crazy bill of fare?
Well, I asked Mrs. Douglas what Gregory liked, and she made some suggestions.
Oh, she did she?
Now, everybody listen. Gregory is very refined. Also, he starts college next fall. So I've made out another list.
Another list.
Bobby Joe, don't bore Gregory with how you won the essay contest at Hooterville High. And Uncle Joe, don't wear your old sweater to dinner. And while we're dining, please don't lean your elbows on the table. Get down, you naughty boy. Why can't you behave like Mrs. Douglas's dog?
Welcome to the club.
Oh, and a couple more things
Yes,
I have...
like the pots and pans. Get into your jeans.
Oh, really, Mother?
Yes, really, Mother. Now get.
Betty Jo's sure going Hollywood since she went to New York.
She acts like she's Miss Park Avenue and we're Tobacco Road.
Well, I've had it. If you hear a sonic boom, it'll be coming from the Douglas farm.
All the time we were in New York, that Betty Jo kept wishing that you were there.
She did? Well, but why did she come back so different?
Because New York is so different. It's very exciting for a young girl. They get carried away.
Oh, yes. I guess you're right. I remember how excited I was the first time my aunt brought me to the city.
To New York?
No. Crabwell Corners. It took me 2 weeks to get over it.
It's taking me longer than that.
I figure I owe you an apology bulgy barging in here like a mother buffalo protecting her calf.
That's what mother buffaloes are for. And don't worry about Betty Jo. In a little while, she will be back where she was before she went.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. But that isn't going to help me tomorrow night.
What is happening tomorrow night?
What? We are having Gregory Tremaine for dinner.
And you don't know how to cook it?
Oh, no. It's a person. And I got to whip up pompano, amandine, peaches, marching.
I can help you with that.
You know how to cook pompano? And
no, but I have a gourmet cookbook. You can have it. Hasn't been opened.
Yeah, that takes care of dinner. But it isn't going to be quite as easy to take care of me.
Oh, it's easier than you think. And for that, I don't even need a book. Why, you are going to be the most stunning woman in Hootersville.
Don't argue. The lobby is no place for you when I'm expecting company. Well, how do I look? I guess it'll have to do.
My, Uncle Joe, you sure look handsome.
You're no slouch yourself, Bobby Joe. Say, we got a treat coming. I just sneaked some of the sauce off of that peach mar shambles.
At the Ritz Savoy, a gentleman doesn't come in licking his fingers.
Of course not. That's because they ain't got as good a food as your mother can make.
Well, that must be Gregory. What's keeping Mother? Gregory, enchanté.
Betty Jo. Quaint little gatehouse here. I suppose the footman here will escort us up to the mansion.
Gregory, you're as witty as ever. May I present my family? Bobby Joe, this is Gregory Tremaine, an old friend from the East. Hello. Gregory, my sister, Bobby Joe.
How do you do?
And this is my footman. My uncle, Mr. Joseph Carson.
How do you do, Mr. Carson?
Hiya, Greg. Have a good trip?
It's Gregory. Well, I jetted the first 1,000 miles, and that wasn't so bad. And then I jolted the last 20 miles on that steam-driven skateboard.
I wonder what could be keeping Mother. I'll go see.
Oh, don't bother. I'll get her.
Holy smoke! I mean, Mother, this is Gregory Tremaine. Gregory, my mother.
Enchanté, Mr. Tremaine. Elizabeth Josephine has told us so much about you.
Well, now that the formalities is over, let's put on the feed bag.
Uncle Joe.
What Uncle Joe meant to say is, dinner is served.
Gotta hand it to you, Kate. This trout almondine's real tasty.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Tremaine, it might add to your enjoyment to know that Uncle Joe caught these fish this morning.
I wasn't going to mention it. That big one right there put up quite a scrap. I had to hit him with my shoe before he lay still.
Aren't you hungry, Mr. Tremaine?
Not really.
Betty Jo said trout almondine was your favorite dish.
Well, it is. At the Waldorf.
Well, I'd be glad to accept any of your suggestions the next time you jet in.
Well, perhaps I should talk to the chef directly.
Well, you're talking to the chef right now.
You mean to say that you were the hostess, the lady of the house? You personally go in the kitchen? Your mother actually cooks.
Well, when you run a hotel, there's more to it than cooking. You have to sweep and dust.
Sweeping and dusting. Amusingly primitive.
I've had enough of this. We may be primitive, but we aren't rude.
Betty Jo, Mr. Tremaine.
Please, Mom. Ever since he got here, he's done nothing but sneer at the hotel and pick at Bobby, you, and Uncle Joe. And the only thing that's wrong with this food is it's too good for him.
Just a minute,
You're a phony, that's what you are.
Well, I don't have to sit here and be insulted. I'll thank you for my hat.
else just because he happened to come from a big city. Who does he think he is, anyway? Betty Jo Bradley? Gee, was I that much of a stinker? Oh, I'm the luckiest girl in the whole world. I've got the best uncle, and the best sister, and the most wonderful mom.
Well, how about dessert? Should I go get the peaches marchambeau?
Well, if it's all the same to you, Mom, I'd rather have some of your blueberry pie.
Well, welcome back to the club.
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Peoticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Peoticoat Junction.
There it is again, that peculiar feeling that something's going to happen. Oh. It's back. Well, you know that feeling of impending doom? You must have felt it.
What a beautiful morning.
Yeah, real second piece of pie weather. Joe, do you feel something strange?
You still harping on that silly female premonition? Trouble you women is you ain't got enough to keep you busy. Look at me. If you was active like I am, you wouldn't have time to worry about that nonsense.
It's worse this time. Something's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
Well, I can't quite pin it down, but it's somewhere between a calamity and a disaster. Homer Bedloe.
May I have a room, please?
I was wrong. It's beyond a disaster. It's a catastrophe.
Hi, Bedloe. Does the lead locust know you broke out of the pack?
Evidently, my arrival has taken you by surprise.
Yes. Usually we get a whiff of brimstone and you appear in a puff of smoke.
Once, Mrs. Bradley, my black little heart would have swelled with pride at your praise. But behold, I'm defeated, a failure.
Let me be the first to kick you while you're down.
Why, did the little orphans expose your plot to put an octopus in their wading pool?
Please, Mrs. Bradley, all I ask in this, my darkest hour, is sanctuary.
Why would an important man like the vice president of the CNFW Railroad stoop so low as to want a room in a miserable, isolated, termite-ridden hovel? Isn't that what you called it?
No, I call it a miserable, isolated, termite-ridden fire trap.
Well, that's right. That's what you call it.
Oh, I mean, Mrs. Bradley, please, whatever I said, just give me a room.
You put him in number 8. One where the ceiling collapsed after the last rain, the papers peeling off the walls.
Anything, only just an address where I can receive my unemployment checks, where I can pass the last few remaining years of my dreary and useless life. I'm torturing myself by looking out this window at that little train, the cannonball. It will race by, mocking me with its sneering whistle, a whistle which seems to say, there sits Homer Bedloe, the fink that fizzled.
Bravo, bravo. That's the best performance you've put on to date.
Oh, I'm not acting, Mr. Carson. Here, Mrs. Bradley. Here's my last $10. Please, give me number 8.
No, we're all full up, and we're going to be that way for some time.
We'll just fluff up a few rags in the hall, lay out some old newspapers in the coal bin, anything to rest this human debris.
Homer Bedloe, every time you come around here, we have trouble.
Believe me, Mrs. Bradley, I couldn't do you any harm if I wanted to. Norman Curtis, the president of the railroad, has pulled my claws, extracted my fangs, sold me down the river.
What does that mean?
I've been fired.
What?
Total disgrace. They forced me to watch while they ripped my name off the office door and put up my successors. Wilbur Goodfellow.
So, Norman Curtis finally saw through you.
Well, you should see the man they put in my chair. Has Wilbur Goodfellow got evil, squinty little eyes like I have? No. His are frank and clear and open and blue. Is he lean and wiry and weasel-like like me? No. He's big and strong and kind and generous like a St. Bernard. And short. He's repulsive.
Pardon me. I'm looking for Kate Bradley.
Oh, I'm Kate Bradley.
Oh. My superior, Norman Curtis of the C&FW, asked me to stop by and pay his respects.
Well, that was very nice of him.
Oh. And you must be Mr. Joseph Carson.
That's right. Glad to know you.
What's this? What have we here? Homer Bedloe. You were warned not to come within a mile of railroad property, and you were ordered to leave these good people alone.
Oh, I'm only a penniless old man. When Mr. Curtis fired me, he took away my pension.
And with good cause, you plotted to destroy the cannonball. Out!
There's no place to go. My mother won't take me back.
Try the Salvation Army.
I did. They won't take me either.
If this scoundrel has caused you any financial loss, I'm instructed to make it up to you.
Oh, no, thank you very much. He didn't.
I'll be here for several days inspecting the spur line and the cannonball.
Well, you're not thinking of shutting down the railroad.
Good heavens, no. Mr. Curtis would as soon cut off his right arm as the cannonball. Only the lowest of swine would think of such a thing. May I register, please?
You're out of luck, good fellow. There haven't any rooms left.
We do for him. For you, the hotel's off limits.
Please, Mrs. Bradley, let me stay. I'll carry the luggage, fetch the ice water, page the guests.
All right, Homer, you can stay.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Bradley.
Front.
Right this way, Mr. Goodfellow. You've made me so happy.
This is a fine train you have here, Mr. Smoot. Believe me, this is railroading at its best.
Thank you, Mr. Goodfeller. Did you hear what he said, Charlie? He sure is smart for an executive.
Yeah. And Mr. Pratt, a lot of these know-it-all young engineers could take lessons from you.
Oh, shucks, it ain't really me, Mr. Goodfeller. When you got a good old engine like the Cannonball, she knows when there's a friend aboard the train.
It's time the railroad rewarded you men for your loyalty and hard work. When I get back to the home office, I'll put a bug in Mr. Curtis' ear.
Okay, and while you're at it, don't forget to tell him about our loyalty and hard work.
And that's only the beginning. I'm going to have the locomotive overhauled, the entire train repainted, the roadbed repaired.
Wow,
that's marvelous.
I've already ordered new uniforms for Floyd and Charlie, and here, Mrs. Bradley, let me do that.
New uniforms.
The way I look at it is every dollar spent on the cannonball will return 100-fold.
Oh, Mr. Goodfellow, you shouldn't be doing that.
Why not?
Well, what would Mr. Curtis say if he saw his new vice president sweeping a porch?
He'd say, good fellow, I outrank you. Give me that broom.
Gee, Mr. Goodfellow, I thought all railroad vice presidents were rat things.
You'll have to excuse Betty Jo's language. What she meant to say was that the only vice president she's ever known was a rat thing.
No need to eavesdrop, Bedloe. And I'll say this right to your rat-think face. I see an era of booming prosperity ahead for this community, and I want the C&FW Railroad to have a part in it.
Oh, those words burn like a red-hot poker. My dream of a desolate valley trampled in the dust.
And I'm not leaving the shady rest out of my plans. I'll have the tracks moved closer to the hotel, so your guests won't have to walk so far.
Oh, I wouldn't expect anything like that.
It's the least I can do, considering some of the deeds of my predecessor. When I think of what he's done to you, if you weren't an unemployed has-been Bedloe-eyed,
You'd slash me within an inch of my miserable life.
Exactly.
Scat!
Charlie, you sure look like a first-class engineer.
Pretty good yourself. Mighty thought of you, Mr. Goodfeller.
Is there a fly on my nose, Charlie?
Yeah? Why?
Whack it for me, would you?
Oh, whack it yourself. You're closer to it.
I would, but I don't want to get wrinkles in my sleeves.
Charlie, what are you doing?
Nothing. Charlie wouldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing he wouldn't do. That's help a passenger on with his packages. Or either would you.
Get that stuff away from me. Can't you see I'm all dressed up?
Here, you take it.
I'm the engineer.
I'm a passenger, and
Don't argue. I'm due to meet Gertie Sanford and Pixley.
next thing they won't want to get into the cab for fear they'll get grease on their new duds.
Gosh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, we better ride in the coach.
Come on, boys. I'd appreciate it if I could get home and change. Gertie and I want to see the new movie at the Pixie Bijou.
You'll like it. Hoot Gibson rides into this range.
Oh, that was last week. This week they got another good Western. Texans don't cry.
Why don't they cry, Charlie?
I'll tell you why Texans don't cry. They're happy because you two chowderheads were born somewhere else.
Oh, hey, can you give me a hand with these? They're heavy.
As soon as I take Mr. Kimberly his lunch. My, you look nice, Mom.
Thank you, dear. Why don't you try this way, honey? Thank you, dear. I will. Betty Joe, those are too heavy. Get Uncle Joe to help you with them.
He already did. He told me how to lift them without breaking my back.
Will you put those down? Too much work to be done around here. I'm not going to Pixley.
You've got to. Mrs. Sanford's expecting you.
I just don't feel right about skipping out to a movie when the hotel's full of guests.
Mom, when there are no guests, you can't go because we're broke. And when there are guests, you can't go because there's too much work.
Just about the size of it.
The trouble with you is you don't know how to put other people in charge.
Oh, is that my trouble?
Well, you don't see Conrad Hilton missing a good movie because his hotels are full up.
And he wouldn't.
Mom! Mom! Betty Joe! Look what Mr. Kimberly gave me. $1. He says he just loves the service at the Shady Rest.
Out of my way, Bobby Joe. These are Mr. Kimberly's bags.
Wow. I just discovered a new vitamin. Money.
All right. Stop your whining. You'll get your bone.
Uncle Joe?
Yeah?
I'm going into Pixley now. The girls will get dinner for you and the guests.
You and Gertie have a good time. Don't worry about us. All right, here's your bone. Now shut up.
Bone? But the dog's in here. What do you... Oh, Uncle Joe, you're not...
Thank you, you generous people.
Mr. Bedlow, go in the kitchen and eat at the table. Uncle Joe? Uncle Joe, how could you toss him that bone?
Oh, don't worry, Kate. We got a better one for the dog.
I want you to understand this. Anyone under my roof is to be treated as a human being, even if it is Mr. Bedlow.
I haven't any money and my rent's overdue.
We'll carry on the cuff until your unemployment check arrives.
I'm not worthy of such kindness.
I gotta go now. The train is waiting. And Mr. Bedlow, help yourself to the icebox.
You're making a mistake, Kate. There's nothing more treacherous than an unemployed cobra.
Joe, give Mr. Bedlow a chance. Now that he's lost his influence, it could be the beginning of his metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis. Now that's sinking pretty low, getting sick so we have to quarantine the hotel. Just when business is good, too.
Oh, no, Uncle Joe. You see, I don't have time to explain.
Now, there you are, you...
Mercy, what is that?
Oh, save me, Mrs. Bradley, save me!
It's a good thing I came in that back door just as I did. There he was with his scrawny hands deep in your potato salad. You just can't trust that miserable ingrate.
Oh, no, it's all right, Mr. Goodfellow. I gave that miserable ingrate permission.
Yeah, I told you so.
Your trust is misplaced, Mrs. Bradley.
Mr. Goodfellow's right, Kate. Remember, a vulture never changes his spots.
All right, Bedlow. But as long as we're under the same roof, keep out of my way. I can't stand the sight of you. Ah! Enjoy your evening out, Mrs. Bradley.
He was a fine, upstanding man.
Yeah. I thought when they made me, they broke the mold. I was wrong. There goes another Joe Carson.
One is plenty, thank you.
Come in. Everything's certainly going well.
You speak when you're spoken to, good fellow.
Yes, sir.
Sit. I said sit.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Bedlow, we're certainly putting it over, aren't we?
What do you mean by putting it over? You almost ruined everything.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, it's as plain as the nose on your stupid face. Look what you did to this valley. Business is booming. Everybody's happy. This hotel is thriving. You know, I could...
Thresh me within an inch of my worthless life?
That's the way I'd warm up. You were merely to lull these simple-minded yokels into a false sense of security.
Isn't that what I did?
Will you shut up and listen? You went too far. That oily, benevolent, confidence-inspiring manner of yours almost ruined my beautiful scheme.
But...
Hey! The farmers are shipping their crop by the cannonball. The salesmen are riding the train. If the Home Office hears that there's a profit to be made from this ramshackle branch line, I'll be ruined. I'll never be able to run the cannonball out of business.
Please, give me another chance, please.
The average scoundrel will be defeated, but I'm two-faced and double-brained. Back in kindergarten, when other children were studying finger painting, I was majoring in skullduggery.
Then you have a new plan?
Certainly, I got a new plan. Now, this is what we're going to do. First...
Keep coming, Mom. Over East for Mr. Smith, Scramble 3 for Mr. Bryan, Base 2 for Mrs. Milford, and Sunnyside up for Mr. Goodfellow.
Hey, Kate. Got another order for room service. Miss Canby wants ham and eggs, over easy rye, toast, orange juice, and a pot of coffee.
But I just gave you Mrs. Canby's breakfast.
Smells so good I ate it on the way.
Joe.
Oh, say, you haven't told us about your big night in Pixley.
Yeah, Mom, how was the movie?
Oh, the movie.
Yeah, how was it?
What was it about?
We gotta dish up the food. Get the tray.
Just tell me what it was about.
Well, it was about this woman who had a very bright, attractive daughter.
And?
Well, this woman was trying to feed her guests. And all the bright, attractive daughter wanted to do was to stand around gabbing and gabbing. And so the guests got sore and they checked out.
Oh, Mom.
Now, you scoot out.
Mom, guess what?
Well, I couldn't guess.
Well, explain it, Mr. Goodfellow.
Well, perhaps some other time. Your mother's busy.
Oh, go on and tell her.
What is it, Mr. Goodfellow?
You see, she wants to hear it. Go ahead.
Well, as part of my plan...
Mr. Goodfellow's going to give Charlie and Floyd raises. The cannonball's getting its face lifted. And during the operation, the main line's going to loan Charlie and Floyd a diesel locomotive. Isn't that marvelous?
I think so. Well, now, let's see. Charlie and Floyd are having their faces lifted. And,
Oh, Mom. Well, explain it, Mr. Goodfellow.
Well, what Betty Joe was trying to say
What I was
is...
trying to say is, Mom...
Stop interrupting. Go ahead, Mr. Goodfellow.
I've instructed the superintendent of the division to recondition the cannonball. And while she's in the roundhouse at Riverton, the spur line will have the use of another locomotive.
Well, that's great, Mr. Goodfellow. Great.
Well, let's have a party. That's a good idea, Bobby Joe. We can have a going-away party for the cannonball.
And another one when it comes back all bright and shiny.
If you make ice cream, I'll turn the freezer.
Now, girls,
We've just got to have a party for the cannonball.
Well, Mr. Goodfellow, since you're responsible for all this, would you be the guest of honor?
Why, I'd be delighted.
Cannonball will arrive at your foundry tomorrow night. The instant it gets there, I want you to melt it down into scrap. Yes, that's right, into scrap. Every last bolt and flake of rust. By whose authority? By the order of Homer Bedloe, Vice President of the CNFW Railroad. At last, I've signed the Cannonball's death warrant. This is my finest hour.
The cannonball is to be melted into scrap, and there's no other locomotive to pull the train. What are these people going to do?
They'll fulfill my fondest dreams. They'll abandon their homes and farms. This whole valley be populated by lizards and coyotes. As for Cape Bradley's hotel, the termites will be picking their teeth with the slivers from the shady rest.
Mr. Bedloe, you are a fiend.
Yeah, that's right. Winner of the Fiends National Open 3 years in a row.
This here occasion calls for a speech.
It sure does, but not by you.
I think Mr. Goodfellow should say a few words.
Yeah!
Please do.
My dear friends, well, I hate to cut short such a happy occasion, but the good old Cannonball has a long journey ahead. We don't want to keep the men at the foundry, the roundhouse, waiting.
Floyd and me's got to get the old girl on the way to the beauty parlor.
Well, first I have a surprise for everybody. Some rare old movies of the Cannonball.
Movies of the Cannonball? Oh, where'd you get them, Mom?
Well, remember the other night when I went to the movies in Fixley with Gertie? Well, my old friend, the projectionist, Squint Whitaker, loaned me the film, and along with that, a projector. So, why don't we all go into the lobby and have our coffee and cake there?
Well, after all, Mrs. Bradley, the roundhouse is...
Them have their little moment. Keep this happy thought in mind. In a few hours' time, their cute little train will be melted down into a shapeless lump.
We're all ready to start. Bobby Joe, turn out the lights. Now, the first scene shows the Cannonball bringing the governor to Hooterville on July 4th, 1916. Oh, my goodness. How could Squint Whitaker get the film so mixed up? That's not the Cannonball. My gracious. Maybe the Cannonball film's on the next reel.
tricked me. You assured me you hadn't made a picture in years.
How was I to know they'd be shown in Pixley? Why, they're too old even for television.
Back to Hollywood, you ham.
Ham?
You knew it all the time, Kate Bradley. You played me like an ordinary trump, but I'll have you know down at railroad headquarters I'm still the second Barracuda. And in this devilish brain, there lurks a foolproof scheme to destroy the cannonball forever.
How long do you think you'd be vice president if Norman Curtis knew that you hired an actor to put the cannonball out of existence?
Oh, don't tell him. Don't tell him. You can't send him that film. It'd ruin me. It wouldn't be the cannonball that melt down, but my gold cup that I won for the Fiends National Open.
Gee, we sure came close to losing the train.
Yeah, Mom. If you hadn't gone to the Pixley Bijou, we never would have known that Mr. Goodfellow was a movie actor.
Well, it was sheer luck, those particular movies being on the bill. You know, a coincidence like that wouldn't happen again in a million years.
Excuse me. I wonder if I might have a room.
Peoticoat Junction.
This has been a Filmways presentation.